Well, hello. Can see a few people logged on already. Just wait for a few more. If you're wondering, this is they're getting fed a lot more now. This is food. It's not lasting much. Oh yeah, just sake hikari. Somebody once said cheap Japanese food. Well, maybe in Japan. So hopefully all had a good day. I'm not sure who's on here today. So Gary, somebody was asking what's my pH at. That's what it is, and it's bang on to my Palin test. So that's the pH. That's where it lives between 6.98 and 701. That's sort of where it lives in that way. So hopefully you all had a good day. Still got my sunglasses on. I've been outside all day doing stuff. So cleaning I don't know how many of you have to clean your fish window, but that's what I use to clean mine. Saves your hands getting soaked. Well, most of it, only your hands might get a little bit of water, but not much in that way. So I don't know what everybody is up to. My pond seems to be working okay now, rocking well. Fish are growing pretty good, so yes. Yes, Stephen, busy on QT upgrades. I think Stephen is um, building his own koi dealership in the northeast. So yes, everybody's doing a little bit of work, trying to secure their pond. One of the things I'm doing this week is it this week I'm doing? No, I'm fishing this week. Maybe next week I'm sort of, because I've fixed the roof on my pergola. I've changed the pergola every couple of years. You should refresh the polycarb. I know some people have it them for years, but so I refreshed mine and adjusted the fall on it. So I just need to get my guy out to tweak the covers so I can install them. I'm going to hold off on the covers because today has been t-shirts and shorts day. Unless you're up by Stephen. I think Stephen was telling me in the northeast there were 13 degrees. Is that right? Something like that. Today was, I think, 19 here, and tomorrow is going to be 9. This week is all between 19 and 22. So I'm not ready to put covers on. I don't want to look at covers yet. Although mine's like a sliding door, so you can still walk up. But yeah, it's nice seeing the pond open, isn't it? So I'm gonna put covers on now, and I'm gonna have to watch covers on till May. I'm not really into that as well. So yeah. So I don't know what you guys have been up to. I've been tweaking pH controllers and things like that, but oh, it's working sweet. So touch wood, it will. Um, well, fingers crossed, touch wood, whatever you want to say, but it's working spot on. So um, that's really good. Keeping running a low pH KH sort of helps with feeding, and the fish. The skin looked fantastic today. I was looking at them in between what I was doing in and out of the house, sorting out stuff, and just looking at their koi and their skin quality and just the way they feed. As you can see out there, they're feeding quite happily and comfortably as well. There's a few small fish in there, which are my kids' fish that they chose from Kitsukoi, some red-eye Kigoi or Karishigoi things. And yeah, they were all scraped and checked, so the whole pond's been fine. No issues whatsoever. Um, One of the things I'm looking into getting next year is from Easy Ponds. I'm going to order a QT for myself once I can work out what the cost will be on not the actual unit but the running of it, as far as like how much water. But the idea is to keep it as a QT. I don't like an indoor growing on at all because I'll be in the garage and I don't really want to put lamps over it to keep mimic daylight. And this pond here gets bathed in daylight, so much so that sometimes the fish, if I didn't have the pergola on, they'll get sunburn. They sort of hug the walls in the evening when the sun goes down, and it beats the pergola a little bit. and gets directly onto the pond, the fish would have about 2 or 3 hours of direct sunlight. Generally, it's through the pergola itself, which is fine. But yeah, so I don't really like growing fish. I've never done it, and I've seen people who done it where they grow them indoors and they suffer with terry damage and benny and stuff like that. So I'm not really into growing fish indoors. However, I would use it more of a quarantine for when when my fish come from Japan and they're being QT'd. Then when they come from their QT to here, they'll go in a quarantine for probably 2 or 3 months before they come in the main pond, as it were, in that way. So yeah, it's a good practice. Not everybody has one, but it's a good practice to have a QT if you can get one. But to be fair, I've not had one for many years because, hey, Jonathan Coates, how are you? I've not had one for many years because I always got fish from Mike and nowhere else. And these little Karishigoi things are the first non-Mike snaden fish, you know. So yeah, so. In that way. So I hope you're all doing well. If you got any, let us know what you've been up to or any questions on there. Oh, Stephen did confirm, yes. 13 Celsius. That's like winter, man. Codyman. Where is Codyman in the DK? Where is that? Oh, Coco is here, look. She's seen me in here and she's come to see what I'm doing, look. There she is. Oh, Mr. Alan Tate. Oh my lord, I feel nervous now. Alan Tate is like a koi god. Mr. Alan Tate, I hope you're doing well. Oh, you've changed from Alpha Grow to BHM. I wouldn't, personally, I'm not a fan of that mountain tree lotus thing. I'm more BHM. I'm not keen on that mountain tree thing. If once you use BHM, you would see what I mean. And but I wish you all the best with it. Hopefully it'll be better than Alpha Grog. But the thing is with Baki, with Baki BHM, you could have it for donkey years in the shower and remain exactly the same. In fact, in my shower, there's I think 42 boxes of BHM in the 10 kg boxes in that way. So yeah, and there's some of them were from the original pond. Do you turn off your trickle in, trickle out? Ooh, just fade away. Do you turn off your trickle in, trickle out in the winter? I don't really. It only runs because I'm using recycle RO. So at the moment, I don't have a trickle in, trickle out. Because I run a recycle RO, it trickles in and trickle out from the recycle RO when that kicks in. And if you've watched these videos, you'd know it's on every 3 hours. So every 3 hours, the recycle RO would come on, and it's putting in 6.5 liters of water, of RO water into the pond, and that overflows into the trickle out in that way. But once the RO switches off, a very tiny bit, I mean if there's wind or anything like that, little bit would come over the trickle out, as it were. Generally I don't, because of the recycle RO, it's very good at removing all the stuff from the water in that way. And then just because I'm on a water meter as well, for those of you who are on a water meter, you'd know what I mean. If you're going to run a trickle in, trickle out, you got to pay the bills. So so far with the recycle RO that Andy Finch installed, September now, I think he installed it July, so I'll have to look back on the videos, but so far I've not had a need for trickle in, trickle out in that way, like other than when the RO is on, which is 8 hours a day if I did my maths well. So yeah, so but yes, previously, for those of you who are not on a water meter, which my previous pond was on, yes, I did have a trickle in, trickle out, and I never switched it off. I mean, some guys said they turn off their UV, they turn off their showers. I don't turn off anything. Winter, summer, it all runs exactly as it is. I don't really turn off. I may turn down the flow friend a bit, pump, so it basically I can turn up the RPMs or turn it down, and I may right now I'm doing 2,000 RPMs in that way. So winter time I think I go down to 1,700 RPMs because I don't really feed once a pond is below 18 Celsius. So in that way. Sorry, I'm watching a rabbit. She's trying to come in here to see what I'm doing. So for 8 hours, Ian Coy. Is that really a name? Imagine having a name called Mr. Coy. That must be weird. Mr. and Mrs. Coy. Yeah, so if I don't know, you do the maths for me. When the arrow is running, it's recycle arrow. So it's not tap water arrow. So don't think it's using tap water. It's not using tap water. It's using the pond water. So when it's using Ian Coy, what a weird name. Anyhow, when it's using recycle arrow, it's just the pond water, and it's giving me 6.5 liters of arrow water, and it throws away 1 liter, and that 1 liter that throws away is topped up by an automatic solenoid to keep the pond levels level. But once it switches off, so it's on for 1 hour, off for 3 hours. So if you do the maths, that's how much. So I get 6.5 liters per minute of good water, arrow water, to keep the pond at a pH of neutral 7 in that way. Oh, it's just Ian. Oh, you just put Coy after your name. You should put something cooler than Coy. Put something like Ian Danger or something. Sounds more dramatic. What temps do you try and maintain in the winter? Okay, this is Nicholas Mills. Because I've got Plex in here, I know some of you have got Plex. I know Stephen and Anthony has Plex as well. They don't like, in my experience, they can tolerate 15 Celsius, 14. I've had them down to 12, although I lost one. But generally, they're more comfortable around 18 Celsius, 17. So winter time, I wouldn't drop the pond below 17 Celsius. Generally, it's about 17.5, 18 Celsius. And I would hold that there all the way through. And I was saying this on the last live I did. The breeders in Japan, they're quality fish, obviously, because there's a lot of fish they have in their farms, but they're quality fish. At least certainly the breeders I've been to, and Stephen could bear witness to this because he was there. I think he asked one of the breeders the same question. But they keep their ponds at 21 Celsius, whereas their customers' koi and their high-level koi. And like I was saying, Sakai, Kentaro Sakai, all his good fish he keeps feeding all year round. All his fish that he's growing to go to koi shows and auction, top stuff. The stuff that you saw on Mike's video, if you go onto his Yumi Koi Japan page on YouTube, and you'll see some beast of some fish. Well, they're fed all year round. They don't really drop the temperatures on those. It's only fish that they're going to move on or get rid of that they drop the temperatures, because there's no point heating them to feed them. They're sort of being prepped to sell off, even auction fish in that way. So let me see. Oops. Jonathan, let me answer your question. What's cost you more on your pond? The water meter? Sorry, YouTube dissolves the question before I can answer. I don't know what costs me more. I don't really look at the hobby as cost, because it's a hobby and there's going to be cost. But the water bill, I wanted to do something about it. Also, I didn't like having a KH of 5. To me, it's too high. So I wanted a KH of 1. Actually, my KH is on 15 milligrams. Last night it was 10 milligrams because it measures it. But then the machine comes on and keeps it around 15 milligrams. So everything costs. The heating costs, the pump, to build the pump costs, to buy all these controller costs. So I'm not sure which costs more. Do you have fresh water running on your pond? Is it to bring down the nitrate? Did you say nitrate or nitrate? I don't really have any nitrate reading because I'm running recycle RO. The recycle RO removes everything from inside the pond itself. So, okay, Jonathan, your tap water is, sorry, let me just read Jonathan's. Your tap water is 160 TDS on KH1. Keep it right there, man. Don't move it. That's what people pay for. Don't buffer, don't throw anything. All you can do is, if you wanted to do it correctly, Stephen and Anthony have similar water to yours, although theirs might be slightly better on the TDS. Is your TDS 160 out of the tap or in the pond? I would just get a pH controller. Stick a pH controller in there and a dosing pump. I think that's what Stephen and they run. Or you can run a solenoid valve with a tank, a header tank, which is what I do, and I got a bicarb solution in there. And when the pH controller calls for the stuff, it slowly drips it into the pond, and then the probe picks it up and shuts off the tank, and it keeps it spot on, really. So, Jonathan, if you have a TDS of 160 and a KH of 1, then I wouldn't try to buffer it or get it any higher in that way. My TDS is, I think my TDS yesterday, I checked it, 105, something like that. But I'm feeding load, so it's quite high at the moment at 105. So. Yeah, Jonathan, I wouldn't. It's, in a sense, really, it doesn't matter what your KH, pH is in the tap. It's how it behaves in the pond. So it's a little bit, regardless of what's in it in the tap, is you need, because my pH out of the tap is 7.3, but my KH is like 5 in the tap, and a GH is like 11 or 12. Well, that's no good for me. So now I've got everything down to where I want it to be. So it doesn't really matter so much so as what's in the tap, in as much as how it behaves in your pond. Because in every pond, depending on the loading on the pond and the system you run and things like that, is how the pH settles and the KH behaves in your pond. So your benchmark is your pond more so. So I wouldn't really think of, well, my tap water is this, you know. Sorry, Jonathan, I'm just seeing your comment. Yeah, if your KH, Jonathan, if I had a KH of 1 or 2 and pH 6.9, then I wouldn't be doing anything but running a pH controller and keeping it there. Don't buffer, don't add any bicarb. Certainly, see if you can get hold of Ian Jenkins. I'm sure you are on Rastakoi. Then inquire about getting yourself a pH controller and solenoid valve, and then in that way, then you could get somebody like Andy Finch to set it up. I mean, you'll have to pay him, but he could come and set it up for you, and then in that way you can run it that way. So I know, like myself, runs a KH of 15 milligrams. Ian Jenkins run 15 milligrams. Rad runs 15 milligrams or 20 milligrams. He might run a little bit more. A few guys do. I think the Greys also run 15 or 17 milligrams. So we all run low in that way. So yeah, I'm not sure about the Blue Lab. I've heard mixed reports. Some say it's good and some say it's off. But like I say, this is what I use to check everything, which is my Palin test. So that's like the Bible, that don't fail. And then also I use this thing here, which is good. So you got to, but that they both sort of talk to each other in similar, within 0.3 variation, and then ultimately this is what controlled the pond in that way. So yep, that's what I would recommend. I don't know, Jonathan, was it you that asked that some dealer told you to buffer to 6? I'm not sure why you would buffer to 6. That's just in my mind, and it's me, and I know the Greys would think the same, and Mike Sneeden would think the same. That's just ludicrous. Unless you're going to treat with a treatment that requires a KH of 6, I would never buffer a pond to that high. I would be happy to leave it there. Now, the thing is about it, a lot of people will say, oh, well, if you run a low KH, you need calcium. If you don't have calcium, then the nitrite would die because the bacteria in the showers or in the bacteria in the media needs a certain amount of KH to live. If that was so, then all my discus would be dead, because my discus tanks, the pH is 6.4, the KH is none, and I do filter it with BHM, and I have zero ammonia and zero nitrite in my discus tanks, and it's the same thing that I run in my pond as well. So for me, any KH pH higher than 7.6 for me, and I know for Mike Snaden, same thing, is it needs addressing. You need to look into some ways of bringing it down. But it depends what you want out of the hobby. If you're just happy to have fish just for your own pleasure, you're not bothered about showing them or growing them to 90 centimeters and all the jazz that we go through, or buying fish from Japan and shipping them over, then it's fine. I'm not saying you need RO to keep koi. Certainly you don't. There are people who keep koi without RO, so I wouldn't worry about that. So that's my thought anyway. I hope that makes sense. The hobby is for what you want to make of it, and not everybody wants fish to go to a koi show or grow them to 90 centimeters. Some people are happy doing what they can, and their budgets are lower. So the hobby is just where you are. Don't feel like you need to have RO to keep koi. You don't need to. But like you've heard me, well, Mike said, there's a difference between thriving and surviving, and certainly the fish we see in Japan, that they keep on pH of 6.99 with a KH of like 7 milligrams, they do really well. So let me see if there's any more questions here. No, don't buy bicarb from a dealer. Are you crazy? Are you on rum, Jonathan? Just do what I do, man, which is, let's see if I can show you here. Who buys bicarb? Anyhow, I get mine from I think Amazon or some chemical lab company that sells stuff for beauty products and food like that. So I buy, I think that's a 10 kg tub of bicarb delivered, and I think it was £6, food grade one. So it's open at the moment. Yeah, and it comes properly sealed, and then also it's in a polythene bag in there, so you don't go all hard, as if you've ever kept bicarb, you know what I mean, in that way. So let me see. Somebody's either asking me a question or making a statement. You can keep a pH of 7 and low KH without RO. Well, yeah, if that's according to what your tap water is, then fine. You don't need RO. Like the guys in Wales and the guys in South Shields, they don't need RO because they have RO water coming out their tap. It's only in some parts of the country where it's not so good. Leicester is one of them. I think out of the tap. Anyhow, yeah, it's not good. So yeah, certainly if you live in Wales, South Wales, I think mainly, and you live in South Shields area, you don't need RO in that way. It's quite soft, and soft water is the way forward. But again, like I said, don't just run off and change it and spend a lot of money. It's what you want in a hobby. If you're happy with your hobby as it is, then so be it. It's fine. You're not bothered about, you're not spending huge amounts of money on koi or koi food and showing them for Mr. Alan Tate to inspect. When Alan Tate is judging a fish, I shake. So I don't know if Alan's watching this, but no, he's a very highly respected judge. Well, at least in my eyes, anyways. So it's great to have you on here. Yeah, so that's the question on RO and KH. There's a lot of questions on that. Let me see. Yeah, Gary, if you're happy, Gary Smith, with your pH at 7.6, 7.8, and you're not really bothered about growing fish or taking them to a show and all them things, then it's fine. But as you start getting down the ladder of koi appreciation, getting up the ladder of koi appreciation, and looking at koi skin quality and luster and shine and growing fish big like Mike, like a lot of us has learned from Mr. Snaden, then certainly RO is the way to go. But it's like anything in the hobby, it will come at a cost. So it'll either cost you to get an RO unit from Mr. Finch. If you're on a water meter, then don't get one for your water your tap water. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to pay the bill for that. Get a recycle RO. I don't know what they cost. If you call up Andy Finch, he can come over and give you a quote and stuff like that. That's not a problem. So if you need to get your pH down, Gary, then you need to get RO. That's just simple. I mean, there's other ways people do it. You can do it with acid, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to kill all your fish instantly. So just go down the RO route in that way. So call Andy Finch of Finch Filtration, Floor Fitters, and whatever else. He's got titles. And Gary, call Andy Finch and he could sort you out in that way. Yes, RO has many benefits. It's also growing the fish, keeping the pH down, and things like that. I wouldn't be able to go through all of it tonight, but if you go onto the Rastakoi forum, I think Stephen had done a Saturday thread, Stephen. Maybe tell me if you did, on pH and KH and running soft water. If not, go on to Yumikoi website and there's some articles on there that you can read about. Just type in Mike Snaden keeping koi in soft water, or I think I have a video. One of the videos on my YouTube channel has Mike Snaden talking about RO. So if you want to know more, genuinely, then have a look there, and then you come up to your own conclusion, whether you think RO is for you or for not for you. It's like I said, it's all what you are doing in a hobby, what you're trying to achieve in your own hobby. I mean, I've been in a hobby since 2004, proper pond 2006. So yeah, 2004. And my hobby for me is a little bit different to some people, and it's all what you want out of it and what you're trying to achieve in that way. And a lot of it is a long-term goal. RO wouldn't make one of the things I often say is RO wouldn't make junk fish good, and excuse me for saying junk fish, but RO wouldn't make fish that don't have the propensity to grow. So it's not, RO is not going to be a miracle cure-all. You have to have the quality fish in the first place. It's to maintain it and bring it to its full potential. It happens in soft water. It's a pH of, like mine, 6.99 to 701. So it's the same way of feeding sake hikari to just below average koi. It's not going to make them all of a sudden really good koi, because you're feeding sake hikari. You've got to have the right fish, the right food, the right water, the right heat, the right pergola, the right lighting, the right amount of light, change the right amount of water, or recycle the right amount of water. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. It's not just, oh, I'll get RO, oh, I'll get sake hikari, and I'll fix all the problems and I'll grow champion fish. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle you've got to add. And sometimes you can add all the pieces to the puzzle, and then last minute it goes wrong. Like I had with a fish before. I grew it from 36 centimeters to 91, and then when she hit 91 centimeters, this was a couple of years back, swim bladder went, and yeah, wasn't good. I did everything right, but the fish still ended up with a problem that was beyond my control. So yeah, the Japanese breeders have a saying, many koi, many sorrows. And certainly if you keep koi, you know what I mean. There are good points in it, but you do end up with some issues there as well. So hopefully, if you got any more questions, let me know. Yeah, so if you haven't received your Food Koi Chronicles, you need to call, his name is Chris. I don't know his last name, but Kitsu Koi. He knows about it. He's got the email, he's got the thing. So Chris is a one-man band at the moment because his father is on vacation. So he's photographing koi and he's trying to do shellfish and trying to do things and ship out stuff. So um, you need to get a hold of Kitsu Koi. If you go on Google, Google Kitsu Koi, and let him know. Then I'm sure he'll sort it out for you. I've already sent him your details. So, or the best thing is if you have chance to, pop up to his shop or pop down to his shop and tell him who you are and you come to collect the food. And then you could have a good look around. That's another way to do it. Unfortunately, I don't keep any koi food here for prizes, so so there's no conflict of interest in that way. So generally he's good, but at the moment his dad's on holiday, so he's left with the shop and everything in that way. So I hope that helps. Sorry, I didn't know you were still waiting. I've passed his detail to you as well, to him as well. So yeah. So I hope you all. I don't know. Have you guys start putting your covers on? I know some of the Rastakoi, well, one or two of the guys on the Rastakoi forum were saying that they were putting covers on. To me, it's just a tad too early for covers yet. Quite depressing, really. Normally, it's quite exciting when I put the covers on because I think, right, I'm putting the covers on, and then gonna in a couple of weeks' time I'm gonna fly to Japan. But yeah, I don't really have. It doesn't look like Japan may happen this year for us. So if Japan don't happen this year, which I don't think they even opened their borders yet to the UK. So if Japan don't happen this year, I wouldn't be going to Japan this year. I was meant to be going to Japan this year, but so far it does not look likely. But time will tell. I guess we will know by October. But generally, I tend to fly out to Japan end of October-ish, like October 28th, 29th, something like that. And then I come back first week of November. But it doesn't look like I will be able to go to Japan this year with the whole COVID thing, unless that changes. But certainly, because I've already got the tickets, vouchers from British Airways, so certainly if I can't go this year, then I'll be looking at next year if possible in that way. So if a koi goes bad, do you keep it? Does it go bad, like go rogue, like gangster, or does it mean like it doesn't work out? Depends. I have koi in my pond that probably will never enter a show. So it depends. There's one koi in there that I will never show, the Yamibuki Ogon. But yeah, if it depends what level there is. I don't really buy a lot of koi, so I'm not like rich like a lot of these guys in South Shields that buy these tons of fish. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I don't buy a lot of fish, but yeah, I have moved on fish in the past, but not because there was a problem with it or I didn't like it or I don't think it was worth keeping anymore. If that's the case, then I would the price would reflect that this fish lost a few scales and it's not come back, so it's going cheap. But generally, it depends on the koi and the situation. If I paid big money for it and I'm going to get nothing for it, I may just keep it and see it all the way through in that way. Oh, you're in South Africa. Okay, that makes sense. We are moving into spring here in South Africa. The water temps rising quickly and summers are long. How do you... covers a... just really good. How do you feed growth food in the summer? And when do you change to color food? Okay, I covered this last time. So right now in the UK, I don't know how it works in South Africa, but right now I'm feeding more food than I've ever fed, and I'm going up to higher. So at the moment it's about 6 minutes and 40, so by the time I start, so about 700 grams a day. So if I remember, 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. So I'm feeding about just under about 700 grams of food a day. I have a little bit of color food mix in there, but not much. But I generally don't feed color food until the pond hits about 18 Celsius. In that way, they slow their metabolism down slightly. It's at 18 Celsius, it's still working, so it gives it more chance to absorb the stuff with their color food. So if you have high temperatures like I do now, which is 22.8, 22 is because today's been a warm day in Leicester, so it's jumped on its own. Color food goes in and goes out. So at the moment, I don't do that as well. So I hope that makes sense. I don't really. I feed a little bit of color food now, but generally I would feed solid, not solid, a mix with wheat germ or low winter food. Come once I drop the temperature down to 18 Celsius, and I would mix it with like a winter style food, and feed about 6 to 8 times a day, enough that they consume within a few minutes of dropping in the water, and that's how I would feed color food. And I'll probably feed, I think, around 30 kgs of bag of color food is what I fed last time, or 20 kg. No, I did feed 30 kgs of color food to help out the thing there. So what auto feeder do you recommend? Well, I only have one auto feeder. Is this Steve? This is the auto feeder I have, which I think a lot of the guys who are watching this would have the same auto feeder, which is this one there. I think it's made by Lin, a Profi feeder. Yeah, if you go on to most koi dealers, it's Lin, Linn. I think it's a Dutch feeder or something like that. So that's the one I've had. This one for I want to say 7 years now, 6 years. But yeah. How often do you run? How often? This is Colin Young. How often do you run your protein skimmer? I don't have a protein skimmer. I have something called up pipes, which works like a protein skimmer, and they're on all the time. So I don't really have a protein skimmer. There's no point with my system running. I don't need to buy a protein skimmer. The design with the up pipes, and again, if you're new to the channel, have a look at some of the videos on the channel, and it will show you the up pipes. But the only way you could run up pipes is you need to have a backy shower, and you need to have at least 4-inch pipes. It wouldn't work on 2-inch or 1-inch pipes or 3-inch pipes. It needs to be 4-inch underwater return. So I don't run a protein skimmer in that way. I just use the cheap strap-on boss with a up pipe, which is called an up pipe, like a snorkel pipe coming out there. So when the backy shower is crashing, it creates all these tiny bubbles and it traps all the DOC and it's rise slowly, which is how a protein skimmer works. And it sort of erupts like a volcano out and takes out all the scum and the muck from the pond. And I've got nine of these pipes on my pond, and all 9 of them are constantly erupting like volcano. Although in saying that, since I've run the recycle arrow, they're not being used as much. I think the recycle arrow takes out a lot of the DOC from the pond as well. It makes me smile. Some people will say, what are you doing wrong? Why do you have DOC in your pond? They don't have a protein skimmer or run an up pipe. So if they do, then they'll probably be surprised of the muck that comes out of their pond. If you can get a protein skimmer, I'd recommend you run one. But I can't recommend one because I don't know which one. I think there's a German one on the market that's quite expensive, like 3.5 grand or something like that. I don't think you need to buy something so expensive. I mean, mine were only £7, so each, and there's 9 of them on there. That's sort of like strap-on snorkels, and they work exactly the same. So, but if you don't have a shower with underwater returns, it wouldn't work. Although I think Drew at Koi Waterlife have a type of shower that has a snorkel in it that works that way. And I do think Kitsukoi has something from Red Label, which is the same company that I use for my drum. He does have something that Red Label makes that you can add to your pond that works as a protein skimmer. So if you give Kitsukoi a call and ask him about his protein skimmer, he's got one from the company called Red Label. And failing that, if you try Drew at Koi Waterlife, he has some sort of shower with a um, snorkel in it that removes protein from the pond. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm sorry if it doesn't, but yeah, I don't really run one of those. Hopefully that makes sense, Colin. Sorry if it went deep there, but yeah, these things work really well, and especially when they're like £7 a pop as opposed to 3.5 grand, and it does exactly the same. It probably doesn't look as cool as one of the German-made protein skimmer that's huge and it's got bubbles and it looks like a work of art. But you're paying 3.5 grand for something you stick in a fish house, so I can't afford that, unfortunately. So, and actually, I don't need it. So, let me see if I missed any questions. Hopefully, Nicholas, that answered your question. I realize you're in South Africa, so I do apologize. I forget we do have a lot of people from international that watch this channel as well. So, South Africa is really nice. One day I want to go to South Africa. I've been to 44-ish or 42 nations of the world, but South Africa, I was invited to go for work and I never got round to going. It didn't work out, I should say. But yeah, one of my dreams as a little boy growing up in Trinidad watching cricket, South African cricket, was to go on the ground in South Africa where you have a tabletop mountain off on the cricket side. That's one of my dreams to see one day in South Africa. I've been to Zimbabwe and I've not played cricket, but somebody bowled at me on the Zimbabwe national ground, and that was pretty cool. And I've done it in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Kenya as well. So, oh yes, I'd love to. I don't know where you are. I've got friends or people that I know in Pretoria, I want to say, as well, who are Khoi people are there. So, any thoughts on flour in tap water? Oh, I don't know anything about that. Flour, like baking bread flour. Read that again. Fluorine. Oh, fluorine. Like fluoride. Do you mean like fluoride for your teeth? Well, I use catalytic carbon. Let's see who's this. So on the water coming into my Shane Robbins. Okay, Shane. So the water coming into my tap goes through bone char, which removes fluoride and everything else, and then it goes through bone char. Sorry, it goes through catalytic carbon as well, and that removes everything. So I don't really have anything. Once it comes out on the other side, it removes chlorine, chloramine, fluoride, metals, pesticides, all those things is out in that way. So, are you happy with your pond? Are you happy with your pond, or would you? Are you happy with your pond, or would you like to improve it further in any way? No, I've answered this question many times that I've been on, and I appreciate you may not have been on before. But no, to be honest, the pond works fantastic. What would I change? What would I change? I'll keep the drum, keep the showers, keep the pond. I'll change no water meter, but that's out of my control. Unless you're a dodgy Dave and you rip it out. But no, I mean, when I built this pond, I put a lot of thought into it. And again, I must thank Stephen and Anthony Gray, who looked after my fish when I built this pond. And then also, Stephen himself is a master pond builder. He's very handy, unlike me. So he can do all this stuff like fiberglass. And I mean, Stephen's very clever with those sort of things. So he gave me a lot of advice, and with Mike Snaden. So there is nothing I would change. No, it's the third year now, and I don't think the only thing I would probably do better is maybe get a house without a water meter and a borehole in that way. But that's probably my age and not wanting to spend money in that way. But no, thank you for your question. I'll keep everything as it is, and yeah, there's nothing to change really, or nothing to add or anything like that. I wouldn't make it bigger. Certainly, I wouldn't make it bigger because at 6,500 gallons, it's just about right to manage. Oh, young Matthew is on here. Morning, Matthew. You just woke up. How are your DOC? Have you added? Oh, let me see. Hey, Doc, since you've added the new mods. Yeah, I was just saying this, Matthew. You probably didn't pick up on it earlier, but since running Recycle RO, I don't get as much DOC out of the up pipes anymore. I think the Recycle RO takes it out. I certainly think it does. Squeezes it and gets it out. So I don't really need to run. I don't see much. The only time I see it is like a few weeks ago when I PP'd the pond. Then you would see the brown scum come flying out and they'll come up through the up pipes. But the amount I used to get prior to Recycle RO is certainly cut down. I wouldn't say it's all gone. There's some things there, but certainly not more in there. So yeah, I do appreciate boreholes have their own issue. I guess it's with the quality of water, the deeper you down you go, the better the water it is. Interestingly enough, Mike has just, not just, about a few weeks ago, done his boreholes for his ponds in Japan. He went down 18 meters, I think it was. And at 18 meters, he's now getting water out of the borehole with a TDS of 20 and a pH of 6 or something, or 6.9. Anyhow, it was perfect. Typical Mike Snaden, perfect. So, yeah, I do appreciate this. I don't know what the UK law is on boreholes, whether you can't have them, you're allowed to have them, I should say, at the back of your house in a residential property, or it's only for farmers or for a certain size of land. I guess they need a certain size of land to get the equipment in to send the drill bits down to find where the water table's at. But yeah, I'm sure you'd have issues like what's leaching into the water and things like that. But yeah, I do appreciate there's cost in there. I mean, the best way is all of us move up to the southeast and northeast, sorry, and share neighbors with Stephen. The only thing is you'll be freezing because there were 13 Celsius there today, and here has been t-shirt and shorts today. So it's one of those sort of things as well. But you know, if you're going to run from a borehole, Nicholas, then it might be you want to go through some sort of catalytic carbon to remove any iron or any leaching stuff, and then from catalytic carbon, fluoride, catalytic carbon removes everything, and then go through some sort of RO system to strip it out and then buffer it and then use it that way. That will be the way I'd recommend it to be used. I don't think certainly you can go in some places you can't, well, especially in the UK, I don't think you can go from a borehole straight to a pond without some sort of issues of what you're going to be throwing in from there, you know. Hopefully that makes sense. What's the time? Oh, it's come up to 9. Come up to my time for my cup of tea and toast before I go to bed. Tomorrow's gym begins again, so the weekend of having food and stuff like that is over. Back to the gym. So if there's any more questions, but yeah, one day if I'm in South Africa, I'll give you a shout. Alex, I've seen quite a few koi ponds in the US on the internet. Most designs seem to be use stones on the base. They look great, but what's your view? I wouldn't have stones in my koi pond, just for the type of fish that I keep. But I just wouldn't keep stones in my koi pond. And then also when a fish flashes and hits them stones, and then also whatever waste and things like that get trapped under the stones, cause long-term issues, you know. So, and then we tend to run bottom drains and things. It's according to the type of koi pond. If it's a professional koi pond for showing fish, if it's a garden pond, then it's different. I know this is kind of off topic, but when you have time, could you let me know if I supposed to treat with potassium permanganate multiple times, or just I don't know. Oh, I can't say a name, sorry, but I don't know why you'd want to treat with potassium permanganate. You got to know why. And then also, if you want to know, it's if you're treating for a parasite, the only time you need to treat again is if you hadn't killed a parasite. But the only time you need to treat multiple times in a day is if you need an ORP meter so you know where you are on the treatments, because if you don't not careful with potassium permanganate, you will burn the gills on the fish and you would kill them. So I would be careful messing about with potassium. You've got to know why you're treating it. And again, there's a video on here that I showed me treating with potassium. So maybe after you finish with this, just go have a look and do it that way. So what do you recommend to use for flukes? Anything that kills it. I have not had a problem with flukes. I know a lot of people have had problems with flukes, but I seem to be able to kill flukes straight away. What I tend to do is I PP the pond, potassium permanganate the pond, and then literally within a few hours of the potassium finishing, then I would hit them with my choice of fluke treatment. And so far that's worked for me. I've not had this, a lot of koi keepers are saying, no, it's been hard this year with lots of flukes, and I know certainly other great koi keepers who have had it, but maybe I'm just blessed that I'm able to get away with it. Yes, Nicholas, I tend to buy my potassium permanganate from eBay, which is cheap. You just need the purity 99.5% or 9%. I tend not to buy the over-the-counter, well, the koi dealer ones. I just buy potassium permanganate from the from eBay. I don't know if the chemists in the UK sell it, but I guess they do it South Africa. But I tend to buy mine from eBay anyways, and that's what I use. I don't use, I can't remember last time I used potassium from a koi brand one in that way. So, well, folks, it's now coming up to coffee tea time, and then hopefully you enjoy your week. I thought I'd do this live just to been a busy day for myself and for a lot of people, so hopefully it's helped you. I'm in no way no expert, okay, so don't think, oh, Rastakoi said this, do it. Ask your dealer, ask other people, but certain things I do know, but I don't know it all. I'll tell you that for sure. And there are guys out there who knows much more that can help you in that way. So I do hope it helps you. And have a blessed week. Whatever you're doing, stay safe. Keep washing your hands. Do whatever you think you want to do in that way. But hopefully it's helped you out. And for those of you who want to know more about RO and Recycle RO, check out the videos on this channel. Please like and subscribe to the channel. That would help us a lot. And share the videos if you do on your own Facebook. That would be great. But hopefully you have a blessed week and stay out of trouble. Mr. Alan Tate, look after yourself. You're my hero in the koi world. One day I'm going to grow up to be just like Alan Tate, except the brown version. All right, so God bless you all. Stephen and Anthony, my friends, have a great week. I know you're busy working in redoing your quarantine pond. So look after yourselves. Don't make sure you don't get injured doing that stuff. All right, God bless you all. Thank you for watching. And like I said, like and subscribe. And thank you for everything. Bless you. Bye.